Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another episode. Today I'm going to discuss with you guys the differences between a good/great site and a bad site. So, for a lot of you people out there, you guys are on the clinical research side, or even on the clinical side, or even if you're on the project management side, and you may not have had as much experience with sites as I have had. So I'm going to go through, this is also for people who have no idea about clinical research, also, or just getting started in the field. What is the difference between a great site and a bad site? And I'm going to go through a few key factors today. I'm talking about accommodations, what kind of accommodations the site has. I'm talking about what kind of preparation the study coordinator is going through before your monitoring visit. And I'm talking about how much flexibility, how much time do they dedicate to you while you're on site. So I'm going to discuss the differences between good and great sites versus bad sites. But first, I just want to let you guys know about the resume review program we've got going on. So many people have been emailing me lately saying, "Hey, ECRG, I wish I had known about this resume review program sooner because I went with one of those big companies and they didn't really do a great job. So I wish that you had talked more about this and showed me that I could have my resume reviewed, and I would have went with you before going with one of those other companies." So I've talked with you guys a lot, and I'll do this more because more people have been asking me about the program. If you're interested in having your resume reviewed, you can email me, eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Once again, the links are in the description if you're listening on the podcast or on YouTube. So that's eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. And the reason why we're better than everyone else out there is because we are actually clinical research professionals. I have been in the industry for a number of years now. I have interviewed candidates for positions within the industry, and I've reviewed tons and tons of resumes now. So I know what the recruiters are looking for, not to mention I'm friends with a bunch of recruiters. So I know exactly what they're looking for, and I can help your resume and your experience kind of match up with what they're looking for, to put it simply. So if you're interested in that, email me there and we'll discuss and take it from there. We also offer interview preparation and basically any type of service you may need to get your foot in the door in clinical research. So there's that. So back to this episode. What separates a great site, good site, versus a bad site? So the number one thing, or the first thing I can think about, is the accommodations. So you go onto a site. Some sites, a great site, is going to have their own monitoring room with either room or cubicle or desk. I've seen it where they have a bunch of cubicles lined up, probably the bigger sites, and because they may have monitors coming in there on the same day. But there's going to be a dedicated space for the monitor, and there's going to be enough room for the monitor to lay out all of the ISF binders, the subject binders, and their computer, as well as have some charging ports so they can charge their computer, laptop, tablet, and even phone, because I even use my phone a lot of times when I'm on site. So I want to charge that up too for work purposes. So that's one of the main things that's going to separate a great site. Some good, some bad, well, it can go down from there. So even just having like a little circular table, I've been at sites with that. And of course, you'd much rather have the larger table where you can spread out and see the binders more. Sometimes I've been into like a crowded room with a bunch of other people. They're talking, laughing, and giggling. But the great sites have their own little room where they can shove the monitor in. Maybe sometimes it's a doctor's office that's not there that day, so they put you in there. But a lot of times it's its own dedicated space, and that's what a lot of the great sites are doing that some of the bad sites may not be doing. And it's not necessarily that you're bad, and sometimes you can't do it. Like if you're in New York City, I monitor in New York City a lot. Sometimes there's just not enough space because New York is expensive, and they just may not have enough space on site. But if you go to a place like in North Carolina, they may have a lot more space, the site may have. So they may be able to put you in your own office or your own desk. So it just kind of depends. But that's one of the things that makes a big difference when you're monitoring is that space. The next thing that great sites do that bad sites do not do is they actually prepare for your arrival if you're a monitor. So some of the things that they may do is they're going to enter data. They're going to enter the subject data in time so that when you're there monitoring, you can source data, verify, and review that data. They're going to have their source documents filled out to the best of their ability and provided to you when you're there monitoring so that you can source data, verify, and source data, review that data while you're on site. Because if they're not doing that, if they're not filling out the source documents, if they are not providing those to you and not filling in them in the ECRF, then half of your job you can't even do because they haven't done theirs. Another thing that they're going to do is they're going to complete the action items from the last from the last visit. So that's something that, they're going to want to do. That's something that the monitor is going to want to see, is that what you guys talked about at the last monitoring visit has been handled and completed so that the monitor can review that and check that off of their list. And then another thing that they're going to, a good site is going to do is they're going to make sure that you have access to the drug, whether that be at a pharmacy. Sometimes you have to make a visit with the pharmacy themselves. So you have to email out to the pharmacy. But a good site, the study coordinator is going to handle that for you. And, the bad sites, they may not know in time. Maybe it could be an inexperienced study coordinator with the study. But a good site, they're going to make sure you have access to that drug during your visit or make it happen. So that preparation is extremely key to turn any type of visit into a good visit and any site into a good visit, into a good site. So if you're a site listening to this, think about these things, because this is coming from a monitor's perspective, things that I like when I'm monitoring to be done so we can have a successful visit together. Because nothing makes a monitor more frustrated than when they can't do their job. And then the third thing that I was thinking about that makes a great site versus, a not so great site is the flexibility of the staff while they're on site. So great sites, they are going to, allocate time for you while you are on site. Great study coordinators, they aren't going to do anything that day. I have a few of my sites that do that. Whenever I schedule that time, they haven't scheduled any patients for that day. They haven't scheduled any meetings for that day. They're not doing anything other than attending to me that day. And that, of course, is a luxury that not a lot of study coordinators have, because they may have too many studies going on where they can't just have you take up a whole day. But the good ones at least will block out some time to go over your queries and questions with them, so those can be handled on site. It is great when you can handle the queries from a monitor's perspective. It's great when you can handle those queries on site so you don't have to put them in your monitoring report. So it's always great to handle those issues on site. And the good studies will make sure that somebody is there to be able to address your queries that you have, whether it's print out source documents, whether it's write some notes in the source documents, or print out some medical licenses or CVs, whatever it may be. Good sites will have the staff available to you while you're there to get it done. And then also, you definitely want to make sure that monitors can meet with the PI. So the good sites, the PI will always come around so you can meet with them. PIs are very, very busy, but the monitor likes to talk with the PI typically at some point during the monitoring visit so that they can update them on the study, how the study is going. So the PI is the person who is over the entire study, even though the study coordinator is going to do most of the work because the PI has delegated it to them. But the PI is very, very important, and the buck essentially stops with the PI. So they are going to make sure at good sites that they are available to the monitor whenever they're there. The conversation typically only lasts a few minutes. It doesn't take much time, but they will show up and be there. Or at least they will have a phone call with the monitor at minimum. So most of the great sites I see, you will see the PI face to face. And even the really great sites, the PI comes around, multiple times, not just once. They may stop by just saying hi, like not even on a formal meeting sense, and then you can talk to them about the study and update them on the study then. So that happens a lot too. And that's always great to see when a PI is very involved in a study, because you can see a whole range of involvedness of the PI, but you can also see the opposite, where you basically never meet with the PI while you're on site. So, a great site and staff will make sure that the PI is available for you to talk with them for a few minutes. And of course, any of the things I mentioned, there's a wide gamut. So I'm talking about the things that I believe are most important for a monitor, but great sites may do, but bad sites may have some of these things that they do and some of them that they don't do. So hopefully this was helpful. And you can tell bad sites because they will be bad at all of these things, or inexperienced coordinators, they may not be great at all of these things. So hopefully this helped. Hopefully this showed you, if you were working at the site level, what a monitor really cares about when they come on site, and how you can transform. Maybe you didn't know these things, but how you can transform your site, in a matter of, one day, or 12 minutes, however long this video ends up being. How you can transform your site from being a bad site in your monitor's eyes to a great site. Everything else is pretty much secondary. Some sites, they'll order food for the day when the monitor comes, or they'll have coffee provided or anything like that. Look, we monitors get a per diem, so we can pay for our own food, we can pay for our own coffee or whatever. That's just extra. What matters to us to most is that the staff is prepared for our visit, and they've done the things, they've checked off action items from the last visit. And then the great sites, they've done everything. And if they have questions, they followed up before the monitoring visit to address those. So hope this was helpful, guys. Any questions, email me, eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Take care.